I have replaced the fuel lines and carb on my Redmax HB281 leaf blower, and now the blower will not start. I have tried adjusting the screws on the carb half turn and one whole turn away from the preset factory settings, but nothing is working. Can you give me an idea of how many turns I would need to make from the fully seated, tightened position on each screw? This is the only way I can think of to get the screws to the correct position to at least get it running. Thanks.
Hi, my name is will be assisting you. You would turn both screws out 1 1/4 turns from fully seated, which would give you an initial start point. You may have to fine-tune from there once you get it running. Thank you, it has been a pleasure to assist you. Please take a moment to rate your experience.
Thanks for the quick response, but it is still not starting. I replaced the plug and it is firing, but when I reinstall the plug and crank, it's not starting. I am seeing some fuel beginning to leak from the muffler. I have also bottomed out both screws and backed them off both 1/2 turns. Do you have any other suggestions?
If you have fuel leaking from the muffler, then it makes me think that the engine is flooded. Does your machine have a primer bulb on it?
I replaced the bulb with the fuel lines also today.
I have answered my own question by looking at a parts diagram of the machine. It sounds like you may have the fuel lines hooked up wrong on the primer bulb, so that when you push the primer it is instantly flooding the machine. Try to start the machine by holding the throttle wide open, no choke and no more priming. If it is what I think it is, you will probably have to pull it a good number of times to get it to fire. I would double check the lines on the primer to make certain that they are hooked up properly. The line coming from the carburetor to the primer should be on the suction side of the primer, and the line going back into the tank goes on the pressure side of the primer.
I tried swapping the lines, no difference, still won't start. Is the bulb marked which is pressure and which is suction?
No, it is not marked. The only way that you can tell is to unhook the lines and put your finger over one of the two and pressing the primer to see which one is which. The blower is flooded right now based on the fuel coming out of the muffler. There are only two things that will get it started at this point. 1. No choke, no prime, and hold the throttle wide open and pull until you can't pull anymore. It will probably take 18 or 20 pulls for it to fire. 2. Let the machine sit for a couple of hours and dry out, then retry it.
Okay, thanks. I'll double check the primer bulb fittings. I counted 42 pulls and no fire. I'll take the plug out and let it sit overnight to dry out and try again tomorrow. Thanks again.
Let me know if you need additional assistance with this. Had the machine been running prior to you replacing the fuel lines?
It ran, but very rough. I took it to a repair shop and the quote for new carb and fuel lines was more than I paid for the blower new, so I decided to get the parts and install myself. The machine always started, but sometimes would just idle and died when I opened the throttle. I'm giving it one more chance tomorrow before giving it to the garbage man and getting a new one.
I just wondered. Since it was running before, then it has to be that it is just flooded badly now, which is causing it to not start. I would let it sit for a few hours and then try it again.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit JustAnswer.com/YTHI.